Hey viewers, Glocks are very popular pistols and they're kind of lore-friendly if you're stretching the definition. The existence of Glock plasma pistols certainly implies earlier ballistic Glocks exist in the Fallout universe. If you want one in your game, there's plenty of mods to choose. I've even reviewed a few of them before, but that won't stop me from looking at them again. There's probably a few Discord-only mods I missed, like Sovereign's EFT pack, but I think I'm covering most Glock mods out there. They're listed on screen right now. So, which one is the best? Well, it's kind of a boring conclusion, but it's hard to beat the Glock 19X. It has a few issues, but they can and have been patched. If you want arguably better animations and a more robust suite of attachments, but don't care one bit about PowerArmor or balance, Warfighter's Glock family is a good choice as well. If you want something really well balanced that fits into the vanilla game but isn't as pretty, the Glock P45 is another good option. The rest of these mods I wouldn't use, and you'll see why as we get going. Because someone asked for it, at the very end of the video I'll show off all these Glocks one by one so you can look at their animations and hear their sounds for yourself. From now on, I'll do that for all weapon mods. No more delays, let's get looking at them. First up we have the Glock 17 from Wars, which replaces the 10mm pistol. It doesn't have any unique variants aside from Wastelander's friend at Bunker Hill, which was already in the vanilla game. All leveled list integration is done through manual edits, which makes sense for a total overhaul like Wars. The model looks great, aside from missing faces inside the barrel that let you see right through the gun. I can't complain about the animations, they're good, there's no PowerArmor problems. Deliverer animations are used in third person, that's fine. There's a good number of attachments too. This Glock can be converted to fire various 9mm, 10mm, or 45 ACP ammo types supplied by Wars. You have to worry about weapon condition, there's 5 levels of receiver condition that affect damage, semi and full auto fire modes, 4 barrels, a flared magwell in stock, 17 or 33 round magazine options, glow sights, a reflex sight, a compensator, suppressor, tactical light, and laser sight. I like how the exact statistical changes attachments make are listed in their descriptions. Vanilla and most modded attachments tend to be extremely vague about what they do, but not Wars. The Glock 17 is balanced properly against Wars' other weapons. Obviously the recoil is ridiculous compared to a vanilla pistol, but that's standard fare for Wars. The biggest downside of this Glock is that it's not a standalone weapon. It comes packaged with dozens of other weapons and hundreds of gameplay changes from Wars, which you may or may not like. And of course the stuttering still seems to be there if you're experiencing it like I am. As much as I'd like to see this weapon released as a standalone, I can understand why it won't be. It would take a lot of work to rebalance it and add scripted leveled list injection. As it is, if you don't want to build your load order around Wars, you'll have to use something else, like our next mod, the Glock 19X. And this pistol has no uniques, but it's injected into leveled lists. Once you reach level 3, a message box pops up asking you exactly how you want it injected, and there you go. It can be found on gunners, raiders, vendors, and legendary enemies. I kind of wish the message box didn't exist because it could interrupt gameplay, especially if you're using Fall Souls. The Glock 19X fires 10mm rounds by default, but this being a very popular mod, it has support for every ammo overhaul under the sun, excluding new calibers, which very few were using anymore by 2021. There's also a tactical reload patch. The model and textures are impeccable, and animations are among the best I've ever seen in Fallout 4, looking gorgeous in first and third person. Unfortunately, what I didn't notice last time I reviewed this mod is the all-too-common first-person PowerArmor Footsteps bug. Thankfully, there's a patch to sort the issue out. Another problem I didn't notice last time is a lack of mod collections for the Glock. Mod collections, or modcols as I'll call them for brevity's sake, are basically what allows weapons to spawn with random attachments on enemies and vendors. Since the Glock 19X doesn't have them, the weapon only appears in its base form when found out in the world. Luckily, there's a patch to fix this issue too, which is wonderful. There's many attachments for this beauty. 14 receivers, each of which has an agency variant with a different appearance, an improved barrel, 4 grips, 7 magazine options which actually affect the reload animation, 8 sight options, a compensator and 2 suppressors, 2 underbarrel flashlights and laser sight, 3 materials, and damage cheats. It seems to copy most of its base stats from the vanilla Deliverer pistol, which makes it outshine the 10mm in every way, and surpass the Deliverer too because of its automatic capability, which doesn't reduce the damage, larger magazine size, and ability to mount red dot sights for greater accuracy. I definitely recommend adding one of the available sights because there's not much zoom in when using the built-in iron sights. Another minor downside of the Glock 19X is it has slightly more recoil than base game pistols. It's certainly not insanely overpowered, but it could have been tweaked a bit better. Regardless, all that said, this is still an incredible weapon as long as you grab those patches. Next up, we have the Glock Pack, an ESL flagged add-on for the Glock 19X, which adds 3 new weapons, the Glock 17, Glock 19, and ZevTech OZ9C. None of the weapons are added to leveled lists, they can only be crafted at a chem lab, in the same section as the Glock 19X. Like the base mod, they don't have modcols set up, but without leveled list integration, that's a moot point. I won't go over all these weapons attachments because it would take too long, but they're very similar to the base mod, with a few attachments removed and a couple added here and there. The balance is a bit better than the base mod because none of these 3 Glocks can be made fully automatic. Otherwise, they're basically the same as the Glock 19X. This pack has patches for munitions, caliber complex, and armament, and tactical reload too, if you care. Without leveled list support, I really don't see the point of this mod. I guess it's more visual variety if you want it. The same goes for our next add-on, the Glock 17 18C. It adds 1 extra weapon, a Glock 17 with attachments that can turn it into a Glock 18. This add-on also has no leveled list integration, it can only be crafted at a chem lab, and it doesn't have modcols. At least there's patches for munitions, caliber complex, armament, and tactical reload, just like the Glock pack. Interestingly, most of the attachments from the base mod are not available in this add-on. There's 23 receivers, an improved barrel, same as the base mod, 3 grips, only the extended 33 round mag and no drum for some reason, only the delta point sight, again I'm not sure why, a flashlight and laser sight, compensator, 2 suppressors, and damage cheats. Balancing is better than the base mod because the automatic Glock 18 attachments actually reduce the Glock's damage, and drum mags don't exist anymore. Still, with no leveled list integration, I don't really see much point in this add-on either. Next up, we've got a very old mod, the Glock P80. It doesn't have any unique variants, but there is leveled list injection. It can be found on gunners, vendors, and legendary enemies. Due to this mod's age, presentation isn't very good. It feels like it's too large, and there's a lot of clipping with the deliverer animations. The texture is also blurry and low resolution. On the flip side, that at least makes it very tiny at only 5 megabytes. Over the years, it's gained patches for new calibers, caliber complex, and munitions, which is nice. It doesn't have many attachments, just 9 receivers, 2 barrels, 4 magazines, a raised sight, a suppressor, conversions to 38 and 45 caliber, an automatic fire mode, and a laser sight. The balancing is definitely skewed towards the powerful side. Like many weapon mods, the automatic fire mode doesn't reduce its damage. Recoil is also very mild, and it weighs less than the deliverer. Aside from slightly lower accuracy and range, this weapon obliterates any vanilla pistol. A good deliverer reanimation can go a long way towards breathing new life into this weapon. I actually have a soft spot for it. It's not good enough to recommend, but even after all these years, it can still hold its own against newer mods. Fourth, we have the Glocks from modern firearms. There's a Glock 17, Glock 18, and Glock 19. All 3 are added to leveled lists via scripted injection. There's also unique manufactured variants of each you can craft using a vending machine at a workshop, although I don't think they're any different. The models are pretty good, but these guns have a very loud and abrasive firing sound. Many weapons from modern firearms have loud sounds, which is quite annoying. The custom first-person animations are good, but due to them, all these Glocks have the first-person PowerArmor Footsteps bug, and there's no patch available to fix it. Third person is better, with deliverer animations being used in and out of PowerArmor. Depending on the ammo type you chamber your Glock in, sometimes the ejected cases are white, which looks horrible. These weapons don't have modcols set up, so you won't see randomized attachments if you find these weapons on vendors or enemies. Speaking of attachments, they're mostly shared between the 3 Glock variants. The Glock 17 has 3 receivers, 4 barrels, 4 magazines, 16 muzzle devices, a ton of lasers and flashlights, 7 sight options, a stock, 2 fancy grips, and conversions to a whole bunch of different ammo types. The Glock 18 gets 4 barrels, 4 magazines, a full auto conversion, the same laser pointers and flashlights, same muzzle devices, 2 iron sights, a stock, and 2 fancy grips. The smaller Glock 19 gets 4 receivers, the same 4 barrels and magazines as the other 2, same flashlights and lasers, same muzzle devices, same stock, the same grips, and the same caliber conversions as the Glock 17. An interesting balancing quirk is that NPCs use ammo when firing this weapon, which is the case with all modern firearms. That means you'll often find either no ammo or tons of ammo on their corpses. A lot of modern firearms weapons will melt the player incredibly quickly, but the Glocks really aren't that bad. Since you have to use them with every other modern firearms weapon though, it'll turn your game into a clusterfuck. You really shouldn't be using this pack in 2024, it's unbalanced and it doesn't work with any ammo mods. Combined Arms is a significantly better weapon pack and it has most of the good stuff for modern firearms. Moving on, we've got Glock 1718, a standalone pistol. It has one unique variant, Bling Bling, which can be found inside the Commonwealth Bank Vault. It uses caps as ammunition, a very unique idea. The regular variant is injected into leveled lists and can be found at vendors, on bosses, and in duffel bags. Pretty much every duffel bag has one, in fact. The weapon has an attractive, well-worn appearance, and the same animations as the Glock from modern firearms. It also has the same PowerArmor double footsteps issue, and there is no patch available to fix it. Worse still, it has the broken bash glitch. Bashing kill moves almost always fail to initiate, making it very difficult to get melee kills with this weapon unless you're using the no grabs or kill moves mod. Bling Bling can't be modified, but the base Glock 17 has 4 receivers, 3 barrels, 4 grips, 6 magazines, 4 sights, a suppressor, zoom options, an underbarrel flashlight or laser, damage cheats, 8 slide colors, and an automatic fire mode. It's definitely a little light on attachments, but it has more than the Glock P80. I really love the unique slide colors, they look awesome. Note that to unlock them, you have to collect magazines placed throughout the Commonwealth. Well, it's always fun to have a good scavenger hunt. By default, this gun's chambered in 38 caliber ammo, but there's an official new calibers patch to make it 9mm, and later patches for caliber complex and munitions. Tactical reload is supported too. Balance is a little bit on the overpowered side. By far, this is the most dangerous 38 caliber weapon in the game, and the automatic fire mode attachment reduces accuracy but not damage. This mod has some good ideas, but it has way too many problems for me to recommend. Sixth, we have Warfighter's MOTM Glock, which is added to the game under the name X12, like it's named in Call of Duty. The X12 has 11 unique variants, but none of them are placed anywhere or integrated into leveled lists. You can only craft these guns at a chem lab, and the unique variants need a patch to even let you do that. Luckily, there's an excellent leveled list injection patch available, which adds the X12 to the inventories of gunners, Brotherhood scribes, Minutemen, vendors, and legendary enemies. It even adds modcols to the weapon, so it will spawn with randomized attachments. By default, the X12 fires 10mm rounds, but there's patches available for munitions, caliber complex, and armament. Be aware that these rechamber patches may conflict with the leveled list injection patch depending on how the rechamber patch was made. This mod isn't all good though. In PowerArmor first person we've got the double footsteps bug, and in third person the slide is misplaced. At least the weapon is functional. For attachments there's a great assortment, 18 receivers, a pistol stock, 4 magazines that change the reload animation, 7 sight options, 10 muzzle devices, some underbarrel lasers, insanely overpowered ammo types, 4 grips, 4 triggers, and 3 barrels. And that's just the base X12. The 11 unique variants have some unique parts of their own, which is crazy. Infinity Ward really outdid themselves. Of course, this weapon is very overpowered, fully automatic receivers don't reduce its damage, and I already mentioned the crazy ammo types. For a 10mm weapon, this thing is nuts. But if you don't care about balance because you're using true damage, or you don't mind rebalancing it yourself in Fallout 4 edits, that might not matter to you. I can't deny this is an impressive pistol, that's why I recommended it. For our 7th mod, we have Glock Pistol Standalone, not to be confused with our earlier mod of a similar name. This weapon has no uniques, but it has leveled list injection. It'll appear on gunners, raiders, and at vendors starting at level 5, so pretty much right away. I've reviewed this mod before, and I still don't like its animations. The pistol is held in an uncomfortable way, and the posing is bad all around. There are custom animations in third person and third person PowerArmor, which is commendable. Unfortunately, this pistol has the broken bash problem, although not to the same degree as other mods. Usually the enemy you bash fails to play their getting killed animation, but they tend to die regardless. For attachments, this pistol's got 9 receivers, 3 frames, 4 magazines, 3 sights, 3 muzzle devices, a caliber conversion to 45, an automatic fire mode, 4 slides, and an underbarrel flashlight / laser. Not the biggest selection, but not too shabby either. If you want more ammo types, there's caliber complex and munitions patches available. There's also a tactical reload version of the mod. This is a decently balanced weapon. While its automatic fire does the same damage as semi-auto, damage overall is not very high. Reload time is long, and it has more weight than a 10mm pistol. In the end, this weapon is just okay. It's not terrible, but it's not great. 8th, we have the TTI Glock 17L. I think this is one of the guns Keanu Reeves used in his John Wick movies. There's no level list integration for this one. Instead, a quest is started when you first load the game, directing you to find the weapon in a house. The gun looks decent enough, I guess, although some of the retexture options are really hideous. The deliverer animations are pretty standard, the only oddity being the melee bash, which makes it look like you have a bayonet when you don't. That doesn't cause any problems because it's still a vanilla animation. For attachments, there's 5 slides, 14 barrels, a drum magazine, 4 sights, over a dozen suppressors, 9 receivers, a flashlight and laser sight, damage cheats, and 38 and 45 caliber conversions. That might sound like a lot of barrels and suppressors, but it's mostly just ugly retextures. If the caliber conversions aren't good enough for you, there's caliber complex and munitions patches for this gun. As far as balance goes, it's essentially a slightly upgraded deliverer, but without the legendary effect. It's not unbalanced in the slightest, but that doesn't make this a great weapon mod. I'd much rather use something else. Ninth, we have the Glock P45, the P80 of the apocalypse. This mod adds no uniques, but the P45 is injected into leveled lists, appearing on legendary enemies, railroad agents, minutemen, raiders, and vendors, starting from level 7. It's ESL flagged, unlike most of the weapons on this list. That's an advantage if you're running up against the 255 ESP limit, which I've never even gotten close to. The P45 uses the same model as Doom-based Glock P80, number 3 on our list, but it looks way better because the textures are higher resolution. And instead of using deliverer animations in first person, it's using Fiddler Green's animations, which are pretty good. There's no PowerArmor problems, of course. For attachments, we get 9 receivers, 3 barrels, 6 grips, 4 magazines, 8 muzzle devices, 5 skins, and a ton of sight options: glow sights, reflex sights, chevron sights, cobra sights, short and medium scopes, recon scopes, and a laser pointer. I like how some of the attachments require perks other than gun nut, much like the Nuka World weapons. The P45 is chambered in 45 caliber ammo, hence the name, and as of right now, there's no patches for any ammo mods, although they'll likely arrive soon. This mod is less than 2 weeks old. Some real thought seems to have been put into the balance here. The gun doesn't do ridiculous damage, it can't be made full auto, the extended magazine only holds 18 rounds, and it has a higher AP cost than the 10mm pistol or deliverer. You can throw this on top of the vanilla game and not disrupt balance at all. It's perfect. I don't know why the Nexus page states this is a horrible weapon with no redeeming qualities. In my view, it's one of the best Glocks out there. Last, we've got Modern Apocalypse Things Glock. It has no unique variants, but there is leveled list injection. It can be found after level 13 on Brotherhood Scribes, Diamond City Guards, Raiders, Gunners, Minutemen, and Vendors. The mod has an alternative version that gives the Glock the name Security Pistol to better fit with the more generic names Fallout 4 typically uses. Sadly, this gun is very ugly. The modeling is too simplistic compared to all the previous weapons I've showcased today. I also think it's too thin and doesn't look rounded enough. It's hard to say why it doesn't look good, but it doesn't look good. I like the West Tech logo added to try to make it fit with Fallout's lore, but it's strange that the slide says 9x19 despite the weapon being chambered in 45. Anyways, this gun has the same animations as the Glock 1718 standalone pistol, but there's no PowerArmor Footsteps problem. Unfortunately, the broken bash is still there, which is a real downer. There's not a bad selection of attachments: 5 receivers, 5 barrels, 5 grips, 6 magazines, 7 scopes, a bayonet, muzzle brake, suppressor, and 9 skins representing most of Fallout 4's factions. Balancing is excellent too. It's chambered in 45 caliber ammo and might be a superior alternative to the vanilla submachine gun because it does more damage while having far less weight, but it also has a lower fire rate, magazine capacity, and range. It fits into the vanilla weapon pool easily. If you want the Glock in 9mm rather than 45, there's munitions, caliber complex, and armament patches available. Nothing for tactical reload though. My big hangups with this weapon are its appearance and the broken bash. If it looked better and didn't have that bug, I might have recommended it because the balancing is at least on par with the Glock P45. Okay, that's the video. I hope you found it informative. Stick around until after the end for a showcase of all the weapons, and yeah, toodles.